Bob's Truth Seekers, and before me I have Robert Feighner. Is that how you pronounce it?
You pronounce it like there's a T in it. It's of German.
So Feighner?
Feighner.
Feighner.
Yep.
All right. In front of me I have Robert Feighner. And Robert, where were you born?
I was born in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and I grew up in the little town of Culver, Pennsylvania.
Culver.
Culver, yes.
Culver. Okay. And do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, I have one brother.
Older or younger?
Older.
And is your mom and dad alive?
Yes.
And where do they live at?
My dad lives in New Bethlehem with me. He moved to this area after he became a dislocated coal miner. He retrained and came up here and worked at the hospital, and my mother is retired and she lives in St. Augustine, Florida.
So do you get down there once in a while?
No.
Well, these type of conditions around here, New Bethlehem just got 23 inches of snow, so it says here that you serve as a trustee for the fire company, and you were sworn in 2025?
Yes.
And it's New Bethlehem Fire Company number 1, which was officially started in 1904.
Yes.
So, how did you first get involved with the New Bethlehem Fire Company?
Well, how I got involved in the fire department itself was I grew up in a small town, and they had a local fire department. So I've been a fireman ever since I could remember. And as I became dislocated, up to here, I joined the New Bethlehem Fire Hall to help out. Now, right now with my medical conditions and stuff, I don't fight much fire, but I do fundraising activities, and I did just take on the role of trustee for the fire department. And what that does is handles the financial business and affairs of the fire department.
Do you have animals?
Yes.
How many?
I have one dog.
And do you walk other people's dogs?
No, just my own.
How big of a dog is it?
He goes, his last vet visit, he was 90 pounds.
Full-sizer.
Oh, yeah.
Balancing firefighting duties with everyday life in a small town. What's a typical call or shift, or do you have times that you're in at the fire department?
Well, normally a volunteer fireman and a lot of the firemen are EMTs also. I'm still an EMT, but I don't do that. A lot of your firemen and things like that, whatever time that whistle blows is what time we go to the fire hall. You don't have set hours. Now, we do have weekly training on a Thursday night where everybody goes down to the hall and we maintain the equipment and do stuff like that. But yeah, when the fire whistle blows, you go.
Do you get involved with parades
Yes.
and fundraisers?
Yes.
Like how often do those come along?
Actually, we do have an upcoming bingo going on at the fire hall that is February 7th, and our fundraising is our primary thing because the fire trucks don't run on nothing. That diesel fuel costs money. We have a pistol bingo coming up. I think I can say that. A pistols and cash bingo. And that money helps support our fire department. We do other things like we're seen at local events like the fair. We put up a trailer and sell tickets and various things. We also put up a trailer at the Peanut Butter Festival. So we're always out, trying to earn money to buy new equipment to help the people in the community.
Have you had any standout calls or incidents
Well, since I moved up here, no. Early on in my career, when I was back in Cambria County, we had several large things happen. As I was a younger fireman, we had the mini mole fire in Evansburg, Pennsylvania. We had the Logan Valley Mall fire in Altoona, Pennsylvania. We had the Smith Transport fire in Roaring Springs. And up here you don't have like a lot of larger scale buildings and things like we had in that area. So probably one of the bigger things that we would face in this area as a volunteer fire department is like a barn fire, and physical rescues become demanding in this area.
How about wildfires?
Oh, those can be demanding also. The last one of those I was on was out in the area called Reimer. That was in Templeton's coverage area, and that was quite an experience. Those can be grueling because you're out in 90-degree temperatures. Sometimes you get a lack of water because of the rough terrain that the vehicles have to go over, and things like that. So,
what do you enjoy most about serving as a firefighter and trustee?
I enjoy being able to help the community. And one of the things that I enjoy the most is we do a fire prevention program where we bring the kids in from the school and we teach them about fire prevention and things like that. And that's working with the kids in any aspect, whether it's the fire department, church, and whatnot. I just enjoy being part of grooming the next generation.
What advice would you have for someone considering joining a volunteer fire department?
The best advice I can give somebody that's going to join the volunteer fire department is, first, make sure your heart's in it and that's something that you want to do. And second, take the training seriously and, go for as much training as possible, because an untrained fireman is a dangerous fireman.
Looking ahead, what goals do you have for the fire company? Like equipment upgrades or more members or community outreach? What's the goals for the fire company?
Well, getting people to join the fire department due to the strenuous training requirements and stuff. Like, for example, when I first joined the fire department, you had 2 classes that totaled 48 hours. You were allowed to take those classes, then you could get on the fire trucks and the other firemen could, help train you in different things and stuff like that. Today, the initial firefighting module is over 188 hours. And there is also a lot of other added things, like you have to have a hazmat class, you have to have vehicle rescue, FEMA classes, all types of stuff like that you have to have added on to that. So it is definitely a commitment.
Have you considered becoming a preacher?
Actually, that's kind of funny that you should ask that, because I have, first I started out with I'm a certified counselor for the state, and what I do is I counsel drug and alcohol addicts. And since I've become a Christian, I've realized that they tell you, when you're counseling somebody, to speak the truth to them, to use your experiences, your strengths, and your hopes. So what I've run into working in the private sector with federal and state money is that they want to dictate to me that I can't tell people about my positive experiences as a Christian. I can't tell people about my belief in God. And I've been called on the carpet so many times with that. I left my previous job and now I'm working for a company called Hope International Ministries. And between them and a grant that I just got, I'm attending Liberty University to bring my counseling degree into a biblical sense, where instead of taking a 6-foot-high stack of counseling books and things that you learn from school to become a counselor, you got one book that you take and you focus on bringing people to sanity, solving their problems using a Bible. And I was also granted through the Living Water Church Association I go to conferences and things, and I'm working with other pastors to get my pastoral care certificate, is what they call it, in that aspect.
How long ago did you become a Christian?
It was shortly after, or wait a second, no, it was before COVID. Actually, I'll be honest with you. Once I became a Christian, that was a wild ride. That wasn't my choosing to do so. And, God himself kind of urged me in the right direction. And it's kind of a blur from the time I became a Christian to when I got baptized to, how I went through all the steps and things like that. So I can't give you a real accurate. I know it's over 5 years.
How much of the Bible have you read?
Actually, I have read a good bit of the Bible, but what a lot of people don't realize about the Bible is God's living word. The Bible grows with you as you become a stronger Christian. The Bible grows with you when you are struggling. So I could sit here and tell you I've read the Bible, and I can go home, get back into my Bible, and read something like it was the first time I ever read it.
Say you had a future sermon and the fire whistle went out. Would you say something like, "Thou shalt not leave thy grill unattended," or what would happen if you were preaching and the fire whistle went off?
Well, any time that I am focusing on, I do a lot of ministry work and stuff like this also. And when I actually have gone out and done sermons for, different people, and a lot of that revolved around like my recovery from alcohol. But God is the priority. Without God, our firemen can't stay safe. We can't do what we need to do as Christians. So, God and his mission for me at that time is more important than anything else.
Are you ready to deliver your first sermon?
Actually, I have already done that.
Oh, so you're experienced with it.
Yes.
Where did you graduate from high school at?
I graduated from high school at a school called Central Cambria High School. It's in Evansburg, Pennsylvania. And while I was there, I also attended the vocational technical school called the Admiral Prairie Votech.
What subject did you take off in Votech?
What I took in Votech was I did two different things. I took marketing and retail, and I also took electrical technologies.
Were you ever diagnosed like a special needs kid or anything like that?
Actually, that's kind of a comical question that you asked that too, because I'm working on a research project right now. When I was a kid and I was in school, all they did with you when you were a disruptive kid was they really didn't diagnose you with things. What they did was they just threw you in the special education class and said, "Here, this is where you belong." They did not ever get into trying to figure out if they could do anything with you or not. They just gave you things to do to entertain yourself. And what's kind of also comical about this is I did not realize what type of problem that I had until later on in life, whenever I went to doctor for a neurological condition that I did, and I moved up here. And the doctor was very puzzled by how, when I was in high school, I barely scraped by even in special education, but I got the chance later on in life to go back to college, and without opening up a book, without anything, I was pulling 4.0s. I was graduating at the top of my class, and, I excelled in college, and he wanted to find out why, so he did cognitive function testing, and he did IQ testing on me, and he found out that I had what was called rapid firing neuron disorder. And what that is that's where your mind moves so fast that you can't keep up with it and you can't process normal things. Like most people would look at a situation and go, okay, this is what I need to do. And when I was dealing with this, my mind would race through stuff like that, where there was points in time that I could not function as a normal adult. So what I did was I drank.
And drugs?
Actually, the only drug I ever got into was marijuana.
So, were you drinking daily?
Oh, I was drinking when my son wasn't around. I was drunk.
Oh, so you have a son?
Yes.
And your wife?
My ex-wife.
Ex-wife?
Yes.
Where is she at?
She is back in Nanoglow, Pennsylvania. Well, actually, it's called Stromestown. She's out along Highway 422.
And where's your son at?
He is up in Clearfield now.
And what's he doing?
To be honest with you, he really doesn't talk too much about what he's doing.
So, when they figured out what you were, you went from special needs to like a genius?
Yeah, pretty much so.
Because
and it was as shocking to me as it was to anybody else, because like I said, when you're stuck in special education classes and all they want to do is keep you there for the required amount of time, and then a doctor orders an IQ test on you and you blow a 174 on an IQ test and your cognitive function's through the roof, you kind of question your entire life.
And what age did you realize that you had this way more potential than what you were using?
Well, I actually had an episode where I started dealing with a lot of health issues. And in the beginning, I thought a lot of them were just from me being drunk all the time. Like I would fall down and, I was having trouble, like I'd hold on to something and I would drop it. And I would have trouble staying asleep and, a lot of other associated things like that. Well, in the area that I grew up in, the doctors were not as progressive as they are here. So back at the end of 2014, I ended up hospitalized for almost 9 weeks. And when I got out of the hospital, I lost everything that I owned. And due to a stressed out relationship with my family, still healing from what I did to them with my alcoholism, the only one that would take me in or even help me was my dad, which moved up to this area, which he's also a recovering alcoholic. So he brought me up to this area with him, and when I got up here and got around the doctors up here, that's when we realized the severity of what I had.
And you have no desire to drink anymore?
No, I can go sit beside somebody. I love bar food. So I can go sit beside somebody in a bar. I can smell it, or even if I see somebody drinking something that I think smells interesting, I can go over and let me smell that. And I can pull it this far away from my lips, set it back down, and I'm done with it. I have no desire, and who I owe that to is God.
What's the closest you've ever been to death?
Well, a lot of the times I was drunk, so I don't remember a lot of it, but I pulled some pretty good ones with some vehicles and, whatnot and things like that, so.
When did you get your first tattoo?
Actually, I think I was around 26 when I got my first tattoo.
And how old are you now?
52.
And what would you recommend for youth? Tattoos or no tattoos?
Well, the only thing that I would recommend to somebody that's over the age of 18
Okay.
is what I would tell them was I could show you on myself every single tattoo that I have has meaning behind it. A lot of my tattoos, I actually did the artwork myself and had an artist do that work. And, you know, everything from the color of different things to I have tattoos for my son. I have ones that I drew that, you know, I have on me for my mother. But what I would recommend is don't just get a tattoo because you think it's cool. Go out and get one because it's something that you're going to look at in 5 years on your body, which, you know, you can look at that and say, yes, I still like this, you know, and you can remember the person or the event that you got the tattoo for.
Anything else you want to cover during this interview?
Not really, no.
How about what's your thoughts on geoengineering, like chemtrails and stuff like that?
Well, I can sum this up in one simple statement. The government is not our friend. And everything from these chemtrails to what we're witnessing on these computers with the AI and all of this technology stuff, there definitely is a plot against the human people. And you can take this clean back to what they call from, see, I've done a lot of research on this, and you can go back to the time of the Great Depression, and you can start explaining it in this manner. From the time of the Great Depression, our government learned that the American people can be enslaved very easily. And how they did this and how they learned to control people was when the Great Depression hit, they used to take people, they would go pick them up, they would take them out to work, and on a Friday, they would give them a couple bucks in cash, they would give them food, and they would send them on their way. When the government threatened to take this away from the people, you literally had people falling down in ditches saying they were hurt. You had people hitting each other with shovels. And that is why the welfare system stayed to this day, because people seen that the government can present themselves to take better care of you than you can take care of yourself. And so the government throughout the years has never been your friend. And if you think that, we can sit down and have a discussion about this, because yes, these chemtrails are real, and you can bring this to an episode of this whole ordeal with the COVID, to the point where if anybody does not believe that that was engineered to kill elderly people, then, you know, we can have another conversation about that.
Did you get the COVID shots?
No, I did not.
So you got pure blood?
Actually, I had got COVID before COVID was popular. We went into the lockdown of COVID. The archery season, which is usually from like September to October, the archery season before we went into lockdown. I'm not one to get sick. I can go like a tank if I need to, and I don't complain. But this archery season, I come home one day from hunting, and I get in the shower, which I normally do, and I mean, I became disoriented. And for 3 straight days, I could not do nothing but go to my door, put my dog on his lead, and go back down the steps and get my dog. I was too sick to walk across my yard and go to my dad's house and check on him. I was so sick that I could barely function. I didn't eat anything. I was sick for about 2 weeks. And I mean, ever since then, I've had no issues with it. I've been in contact with people that have had it, and I've had nothing.
I can relate. So, Well, we've had an interesting discussion. Is there anything else you want to continue on?
Not really, no.
Do you think it's Satan deceiving everybody? Or do you think we're starting to have an awakening that Christian people are starting to get wiser and stronger?
Well,
what are we at in that?
You will notice one thing, and I've noticed this now, that I had gone to a little smaller country church for the longest time, and then an opportunity presented itself at a bigger church with me, and when you become a Christian, you look at things in a whole different light. And people laugh at Christians because they'll say things like, Satan's responsible for this. And if you read your Bible, the two primary things that you want to understand about a lot of what's going on in the world is the first part of the Bible you want to read to be able to better understand. The second part I'm going to tell you is you read the book of Genesis. Then you get into the book of Revelations. And what we are witnessing right now with a lot of the things going on this earth today is, well, let me back us up a little bit. One of the misconceptions that a lot of people have is when a bad person dies, now that they go directly to hell. And if you read your Bible, you're going to learn that nobody's in heaven nor hell. The devil's not in hell. And, he's up here wreaking havoc and everything else. And, I believe that a lot of this stuff, yes, it is of Satan, and it is, Satan luring a lot of people in. Drugs and alcohol is a big issue. And once Satan gets his hooks on you with drug or alcohol, he'll leave you alone because you're being destructive. You're doing his work for him. But when you try to pull yourself away from your satanic ways, your drinking, your drugs, your things like that, and you pull closer to God, that's when Satan rears his ugly head. And you can look at a lot of these things like right now where I believe that things like this, artificial intelligence, this is purely of Satan because you cannot even believe what your eyes are telling you now when you open up any form of social media that can be adapted by AL technology, AI, whatever you want to call it, that if it can be adapted by that, there's probably an 80% chance that you are not getting the truth. And that's how the devil works in the world. He deceives people.
The great deceiver.
Yep, he is the great deceiver.
What about Charlie Kirk?
Now, there was a positive outcome about what happened with Charlie Kirk. And I do believe, I don't know if I necessarily agree with how he went about doing what he did, but, as a Christian, we are all called to be disciples, and what I look at is the good that he did do, and he actually did a lot of good after his death. And people don't understand this, but if you've watched from the time that the news media hit, he has people behaving like a Christian should. When Charlie Kirk got shot, church attendance through the roof. And people knowing, because I'm an outspoken person, I will tell you, go to church. I've actually walked to people up on the street and said, look, you need some Jesus, let's get you to church. I've done it here. But the thing that came out of Charlie Kirk's death, and I seen a meme on Facebook about this, where when Charlie Kirk died, he did more for bringing people to believe in Jesus than your modern day Christian will do by his death. And you can see that where church after church is filling up with people. You have non-believers coming up to people asking questions. You have 2 to 3 new people every Sunday walking into a church service going, I'm new here. You know, so I do believe that the tables are turning where less and less people are under the grips of Satan, but they are now looking at, we don't believe this anymore, we don't want the easy road out, we want to follow Jesus. And we've had so many younger people stepping up. Like the bigger church that I go to is a local church here in town, and this church does outreach for every age group. And the one thing that this church does is we get out into the colleges where the kids are away from their families now. And they're away from their families, but we take Jesus to the college campuses. And what this does is this prevents a lot of younger children and kids in college from seeking the easier road. Now you have a program where on Wednesday nights the kids can come to our church, they get a meal, they're with other believers, they do activities. We're bringing them into the light of Christ versus society taking them into the pits of hell.
I think it's appropriate to promote Hope Rising.
Yes.
It's a nice church. I've been there, and
Yeah.
I really like the preacher. So, and I do think that at least in this area, Christianity has been getting a resurgence.
Yes.
I think maybe it was the low as it was like in 2010 or 20.
Yeah.
But in the last 5 years or so, it's starting to come back again.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and it is, I mean, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a larger church like Hope Rising. The church that I originally went to was very beneficial for me. The pastor there was an amazing man. It was a little church out in the country. And the thing that sticks out the most with this church, it's Leatherwood Church out on Olean Trail Road. And this little church, these people loved me when I was a dysfunctional Christian. These people showed me the way. And that is part of Christianity, where you don't shun somebody because they walk into your church covered in tattoos, or they may even come in drunk from Saturday night. You love these people. You show these people the way. And Pastor Doug Henry and everybody that I have met at Leatherwood Church, I'm still friends with a lot of those people. And those people and the people at Hope Rising are true examples of Christianity. Church doesn't end on Sunday. These people get out there and they do what God intended them to do 7 days a week.
Were you baptized when you were little?
This was what steered me away from the church life. I was baptized when I was little. I grew up in a little town where 98% of the people were Catholic. And you went to Sunday school. You didn't argue about it. You weren't allowed to have any questions. In the Catholic religion, they told you what you were studying. If you were a Catholic and you said, I'm opening my Bible, you know, it was like you were reaching down to the pits of hell and letting Satan himself out, because Catholics were not allowed to learn the Bible. They had to go off of Sunday school material. They had to go off of the scriptures that were printed. And quite honestly, when I was old enough, I took work on Sundays just so I could get out of going to church. And that actually kept me away for a very long time. Because, like I said, we actually had I won't get into none of the negative experiences, because whether I disagree with something or not, if somebody tells me they want to go to a Catholic church versus going to no church, I'm going to say, have at her. You know, I'll even pick you up and take you there just to get you to church.
Well, that's about the end of this thing, unless there's any other subject you want to cover. I like talking about any subject, so.
Oh, I like to talk about a lot of different things too. And like I said, that's what, with doing stuff like this, when this interview gets out there, hopefully enough people see this, that this lets other people, know, first of all, it's okay to be human. Second of all, it's okay to, talk about Christianity. And the one thing that I've learned is, for us as human beings, let alone believers in Jesus, if we share our testimony, good, bad, ugly, but truthful, that is how we help people. So if you don't have anything else, I'll be quiet, because you and I can sit here all day and talk. You know that.
Well, Robert, thank you for being in podcast number 121. And on YouTube, it's under Bob Gorley Truth Seekers. And on Facebook, it's under Robert Gorley Truth Seekers.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for having me.